Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bria, and I'm just a girl here on YouTube who loves to talk about all things emotional wellness and health. And we dive into different topics regarding what you might come across in your life, especially in adulthood, what you might be dealing with emotionally. So I'm on a journey to healing and becoming just a better version of myself. And so I'm bringing you guys along on that journey with me. So, welcome to my channel. This week, we're going to be talking about topics uh, leading up to confidence and building self-confidence, right? So today we're going to dive into the conversation around decision fatigue. This is something that I've been dealing with a lot lately. And this is something that you can kind of come across when you're already feeling depleted and you don't feel confident in any of the options that you present to yourself. So, the first thought that you have, you question that, and that leads to a second thought and a third thought. And what if I do this? What if I do that? And then we go down a little bit of a loophole and not knowing what to do or what to choose. So, this could be around something that as big as, where am I going to move? Your lease might be coming up and you have to figure out like what you're going to do. When you're not confident in yourself and you're already tired and depleted, you might have a harder time coming to a conclusion and a decision. And you might continuously question your line of thinking. So that's something that we want to talk about today. And it also applies to just smaller things that you have to decide on, like what you're going to eat for dinner, what you're going to wear for the day. If you don't trust yourself in making those types of decisions, how are you going to trust yourself in making some of the bigger life decisions? And we want to get to the point of having the confidence in ourselves to be able to make and stand 10 toes into these big life decisions that we might choose, just knowing that um that those decisions are we're basically just following like our first thought and our intuition. So I know we talked a little bit about intuition before. That's going to be woven into the conversations around confidence, because we want to learn how to trust ourselves, right? But if we don't trust ourselves, then the more decisions we have every day, the more tiring it can be to be, you know, making those decisions and confidently making those decisions. If you're not confident in your decisions, then you're going to question the outcome and be scared all the time. So, to get us started, I want to talk about the definition of decision fatigue that I have come across. So, decision fatigue is a distinct psychological phenomenon where the act of making numerous or difficult choices depletes an individual's mental resources, leading to a measurable decline in the quality of subsequent decisions. So, let's unpack that a little bit, okay? So, it is a phenomenon um, that psychologists have come to a conclusion. This is what leads to decision fatigue, right? So when we have to make numerous or difficult decisions, that can be depleting. If you're in a place in your life where you're constantly, just let's say that you've had a hard time, like you lost your job, or um you you had something traumatic happen to you, right? And you had to make a lot of decisions around that. That can deplete you so significantly. If you don't take the time to heal from that, that will be your approach. That depleted state of mind from that moment will be your approach to every decision that you make going forward until you heal from that initial um, causation. So, um, yeah, your mental resources. How are you? So, if you're already depleted, how are you pouring back into your mental resources? Are you taking time for yourself? Are you clearing your mind? Are you meditating? Are you writing things down? Are you listing things out so that you don't have to carry a heavy load every day? Um, if you're not doing those things, that can very easily lead to decision fatigue. So, depending if you're already depleted and tired emotionally or physically, this will have various effects on how you approach decisions in your life. If you're feeling depleted mentally, ask yourself why. There can be so many reasons for this, okay? One, you may have more than you can handle on your plate. Two, you are feeling sad or depressed. Three, you have feelings of anxiety or heightened anxiety. Four, you don't know how to ask for help. And five, you feel like you don't have anyone to help. So sometimes that is the case where you want to ask someone for help, but you don't know who to ask because you might not have the community that you need. And when we can point out some of these causations, it could be make it a little bit easier for us to come to some solutions of what we might need to do for ourselves so that we can take the heaviness and the weight out of decision making in our lives. So, moving on. So here are some things that can be helpful for you, okay? We want to point out the problem, and we definitely want to pinpoint, why you might be feeling decision fatigue. But some solutions that I have found in my research are one, making fewer daily decisions, or tackling your to-do list over several days. So if you have a week ahead of you and you're so stressed and you feel like you have to get everything done on Monday, slow down, take a step back, say no. Um, let's map out the week. We can do this on Monday, or maybe Mondays aren't your best day and you want to rest, take that time to rest if you didn't get rest on Sunday. It just depends on what you need. I think it does matter how much time we take to sit down and game plan how we're going to tackle things. So it takes us the stress. It takes the stress out of the day-to-day decisions that we have to make. If you pre-make those decisions and you plan, then it could be a little bit easier to tackle things day by day. And also, if you can't get things tackled or done or completed in one day, that same day that you plan to do it, we have to mitigate the anxiety that we have around that, right? So the pressure of getting things done, I know, can be overwhelming for me as well. But there is peace in knowing that we don't have to do things right now. If there's not a solid deadline, if it's just a task to do on your list, say you were supposed to get something done on Tuesday, you can say, hey, there's always tomorrow. And it gives you a sense of hopefulness, like, okay, I'm just going to move that task to tomorrow, and that'll be the first thing that I do tomorrow. So take a little bit of that pressure off of yourself to get things done in one day and spread it out across multiple days, and see how much that can, lighten your load and lighten the mental space that it might take up. Number two is imagine your decisions as someone else's before considering how those consequences impact you specifically. So this speaks more to when we give people advice, right? So it is a little bit easier when we give other people advice rather than when we try and follow our own advice, right? So you might be the best advice giver and, oh, do this, do that. And that, oh, it's so simple, but you're that way to other people. So why can't you be that way to yourself? So you kind of have to take yourself out of it. Say, okay, if I knew that my friend had these goals, so my friend likes to, write. She says that she wants to write every day. What advice would I give her? Hey, why don't you go ahead and make a schedule for yourself? Or whenever you have downtime, you can sit down and open your laptop, maybe brew some tea, whatever advice you would give to a friend, pretend like you are your friend and give it to yourself. Okay. I know it's not that simple, but I think when we kind of like play around with it a little bit, it could help us out a lot. So I'm definitely going to be trying I'm going to try to do that. You should try to do that too. And then we'll see how that pans out and works, and maybe we'll come back to that together. Comment down below if you have any, you know, if you think that is a good idea. All right. And number 3, remember that not every choice is equally important. Ooh. So this is something that I have had to learn for sure. And that is prioritizing tasks that I have. So there are some things that are more urgent. So that day, if I have a list of things that I'm trying to do, there are things like bills that, I need to sit down and I need to, make sure I prioritize paying the bills, or if I want to read, like leisurely things, reading, journaling, when you know what your priorities are, whether that is self-care priorities, household priorities, or, events, you might have a calendar. Um, when things need to be done. And so it is good to treat everything accordingly. There are some things, some decisions that we have to make every day, like as far as like what we eat for dinner, what we eat for breakfast, that we can kind of it is not, I mean, it is a priority that day, but we have to make sure that we understand that it's not the end of the world if we don't have like the perfect breakfast or the perfect dinner. And as long as we are grateful that we have nutrients for our bodies, then I think that we can have some peace in that, and it'll make the decision making a little bit easier. So, all right. So just to summarize, and overall, working to trust yourself and your instinctual choices is imperative to combat fatigue. This will provide confidence in future choices. And once it's easier for you to make smaller choices, like what to have for breakfast, that's an everyday thing. Food is that choice in itself, clothing, what to wear every day. The daily choices, I think we can probably try and simplify the options that we have every day. So if you stick to a regimen of like what you eat for breakfast, like if you eat you want boiled egg, toast, whatever, simplify that so that you don't have so many options. And then you can also pre-make things so that you don't have to make that choice every day. It is right there for you, so you wake up and you already know what you're going to eat. Same thing for dinner. We can pre-make meals or pre-plan meals so we don't have to make those choices every day. And also for clothing, you can like have they call it a capsule wardrobe, where you have just a few things that you wear every day, or a color palette that you wear, so you don't have to worry about matching everything. A lot of my clothes are very neutral, so everything goes with everything. So if and all of my clothes, I have minimized my wardrobe, even though, if you ask my husband, he would say otherwise. But a lot of my wardrobe is very neutral, and all of the pieces, I will say this confidently, all of the pieces that I have in my closet, I love. And if I don't love them, I love to donate. So it makes it a lot easier for me to decide. I don't have to change 5 times before we go anywhere anymore. It's so nice and refreshing to be able to just slow down and focus on other things, because when you do have kids and you do have to worry about where you're going, and it just frees up your mind so much when you pre-make those choices for yourself. So that is something that we should keep in mind, and also being grateful about that autonomy that we have to be able to make decisions for ourselves, because um you know We have free will. We can really do whatever we want to. And I think when we get into our next conversation about confidence, this will really drive this point home. But once you know who you are and what you want, what you like, what you need in your life, it will make making choices a lot easier because you have a guideline or a guide to follow, which is yourself. And you know what you want out of life. You know what you like to wear. You know what you like to eat and what you need. And so once we build that confidence and trust in ourselves, a lot of these other things like judgment and decision fatigue and guilt and just a lot of these topics that we've already covered, a lot of those things will just fall into line, hopefully. So stick on this ride with me to emotional healing. And thank you for joining me. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.